There was a young lady that was 20 years old. She just had her first child. It was a little boy. He was perfect in every way you could imagine. She thought to herself, this was worth all of the months of pain, discomfort, and weight gain. Looking down at her newborn, she thought to herself, how will he change the world? Through his life. Well, needless to say, that mom never had the chance to see what he would be when he grew up. He was taken from her all too soon, and with no warning. Most of us probably wonder or even dream how we will impact the world that we live in. What will I be when I grow up? Will I be giving back? I too have asked myself these very questions many times in my life. I still do wonder on a daily basis, do I affect the people around me? Do I impact the people around me in a positive way? I would like to take a minute to talk with you about making your own plan for changing the world, making our world a more Christ-like, centered community. I would like for you to look at the accomplishing things that you have done through your life and put them into 4 fields of ministry: into yourself, into others, into your community, and then into the world as a whole. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and walk humbly with your God? Micah 6:8. The first field of ministry is yourself. Before you set out to change the world, you must make a plan, and making yourself spiritually anchored for walking humbly with your God. There was an old Jewish tale, and it goes like this. Where do I start? The world is so vast. I shall start with my country. But the country is so very large. I had better start with my town. But my town too is large. No, maybe I will start with my street. No, maybe my family. Never mind, I shall start with myself. What is Wrong with the World was written by G.K. Chesterton. The Christian idea has not been tried and found wanted. It has been found difficult and left untried. Jesus should be our role model, as stated in Luke 22:39 through 41. When we try to change the world without firm roots in our relationship with God and Christian community, we can fall into traps. The Pharisee. The Pharisee is not motivated by God's grace. He or she is driven by a rigid perfection and guided by legalism. The do-gooder. The do-gooders are often those people who have their own need to be needed, to make a notable difference instead of by true compassion and commitment to human needs. I find this one to be pretty predominant in the medical field. There are lots of nurses and or providers who are out there who want to do good for themselves but don't necessarily have the patient or their community or their world at heart. The Savior complex. Without a sense of God's providence, caring people may feel they must save the world by themselves. I'm sure we all know people like this. Far-reaching plans or feverish activity may be based more on anxiety for the future than attention to what is right in front of them. The burned out. Without a vital relationship with God and other Christians or those that you work with in the same field, the fire for the mission just simply burns out. You cannot change the world if you are running on empty. The strength of Jesus' ministry, and ours if we choose, came from his relationship with God and close friends, his disciples. Between times of intense ministry, Jesus withdrew with his disciples to a lonely place to pray and share his concerns. Much like we in the nursing facility do, we find comfort in sharing our experiences with others that are like-minded as us. Changing our world begins with changing ourselves. Sustaining the change in our heart and in our mind and with our will through our actions. The second field of ministry is others. In the second field, we are called to love mercy. Our most immediate opportunity for changing the world through sharing God's love in our relationships, with our family members, our friends, or our colleagues. Your mission is to infuse your network of relationships with the grace of Christ, to make mercy and outreaching love a part of your everyday life. They suggest you make a personal inventory of your relationships and the grace they call from you. Who do you know that needs your encouragement? Who do you know that needs your guidance? Who needs to hear about how good they are or what you think of them in your lives? Your attitudes towards others will either open or close a relationship with them. Do you affirm people, or do you categorize people with limiting labels? Do you see persons for what they have been, or condemn them to that? Or do you see them for who they may become in the future? Your friendships with others is the means by which you can share your life and offer your experiences to them. Seek opportunities to share your relationship with Christ and your relationship with those that you work with. Expect them to be receptive. Be authentic. There's a saying that says, make a friend, be a friend, bring a friend to Christ. I like to look at it as make a friend, have a coworker, be there for your coworker. The third field of ministry is your community. The world does not consist of one-on-one relationships alone. You are an integral part of society through your families, through your workplace, through your organizations or groups. You influence your society by how you do or do not participate in it. You are called and transform your part of the world into a more Christ-centered, loving, and just society. Identify the situations of human need. We have the ability to do this, most of us on a daily basis through our work. We see the patient's needs, and then we look for a way to correct or to heal it. That is what our jobs are. We are to be joyful about doing our work. Let people know through your actions and your attitudes and words that you are the source of their strength in their lowest moments. In every case, Christ's Spirit or your spirit should be evident in what you do and how you do it. The fourth field of ministry is the world. How will you change your world? What are you willing to give up or do to make an impact on your community, on your family, or on yourselves? Will you be that person who is ready to help others? Will you be that person who is closed off and doesn't want to put themselves out there in order to help somebody else? As you can tell, to change the world, you must go through several changes in your life before trying to impact the world you live in. When I met a roadblock and I feel like I'm not making a difference in the world, I go back, I start all over, and I start with myself. Remember the story at the beginning. Well, truth is, that mom, that boy, that was me. After all the tragedy was over, and I had to go back, find a way to change my mindset, and focus on the positives in my life, and start over. I started with changing myself before I even tried to conquer the world. What is your plan? Changing the world begins with one small step. My step will be to work toward change in myself, then in my house. What can you do now to make a difference? As disciples, we are not called to be successful, but to be faithful. Will you be that faithful person? Will you be listening and watching for someone who needs your help? We are called to do what we can with what we have and where we are to advance everybody's success on this earth. In order to do so, we need to plan for change in ourselves, in our relationship with others, in our community, and then in our world.